Radhe Gauramata. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're going to continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 3, Chapter 32, Text 28. We're in the middle of the purport of text 28. I'll quickly just read the translation. Those who are averse to the transcendence realize the supreme absolute truth differently through speculative sense perception, and therefore, because of mistaken speculation, everything appears to them to be relative. So we have been reading the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and we will continue reading it. Okay. Yeah. So we read that okay, the gold is there. The oyster shell is there and it appears golden. But when we see it closely, then we realize, oh, it's not golden. But it doesn't mean the oyster shell is not there. It still exists. Similarly, this world, the material world, it exists. It's not false. It is simply a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So similarly, by seeing the form of Lord Krishna, one cannot understand what he actually is. But this does not mean that he is false. The form of Krishna has to be understood as it is described in the books of knowledge, such as Brahma Samhita. So if we really want to understand Krishna, we want to understand the absolute truth, we have to hear from the devotees. Because the devotees understand Krishna, so they can explain to us the truth about Krishna. That's the reason Shruti, hearing is given so much importance. Brahmaji, he has sung this beautiful prayers called Brahma Samhita, in which he says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Lord Brahma, he says that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And he has a form, he has a body which is spiritual, a body which is eternal, a body which is blissful. So we think that body means material. No, but the real body is the spiritual body. This material body is just a reflection made of this material elements. So form exists. The real form exists in the spiritual world. God also has a form, Krishna, that is his eternal form. The Sham Sundar form with two hands holding a flute, wearing a peacock feather. Krishna's body is Satchit Ananda. By our imperfect sense perception, we cannot understand the form of the Lord. We have to acquire knowledge about him, and therefore it is said here, Jnanam Ekam. So because we don't understand, we don't know about God, we don't know about his form, so we have to hear. We have to hear about him from the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, through the lips of the pure devotees. Bhagavad Gita confirms that they are fools who simply upon seeing Krishna consider him a common man. So Krishna says that fools deride me when I come in the human form, avajananti mam mudha. That they are foolish. They think I've come in the human form now, so they think I've become a human being. That is our foolishness. If we think that when Krishna comes to the material world, that he has taken a material form, we are being foolish. Like the prisoner who sees the president in the prison and starts saying, oh, look, the president has become a prisoner. Then it's the foolishness of the prisoner. Instead of trying to take advantage of the presence of the president, oh, the president can help me get out of the prison, let me speak to him. Instead of doing that, if he considers oh, the president is also a prisoner, then this prisoner is foolish. So material sense speculation leads to the conclusion that the Supreme is formless. It is because of such mental speculation that the conditioned soul remains in ignorance under the spell of illusory energy. So if we just rely on our mind, on our mind, we will come to the conclusion that God has no form. But till the time we think that, we continue to remain um, under the clutches of Maya. That is her job, to keep us here. The illusory energy, that is her service to God, to keep us here. So how can we understand God? He has to be understood by the transcendental sound vibrated by him in Bhagavad Gita, wherein he says that there is nothing superior to himself. The impersonal Brahman effulgence is resting on his personality. So Krishna is telling Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita that Brahman is this light which is coming from my body. Krishna is saying, you remember me in my form as Krishna, as I'm standing in front of you. Krishna is giving very clear instructions in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. We simply have to follow. We simply have to follow it. The purified absolute vision of Bhagavad Gita is compared to the river Ganges. Ganges water is so pure that it can purify even the asses and cows. But anyone who, disregarding the pure Ganges, wishes to be purified instead by the filthy water flowing in a drain cannot be successful. Similarly, one can successfully attain pure knowledge of the Absolute only by hearing from the pure Absolute himself. Now, if we think that the water of the Ganges is equal to some dirty sewer water, then that is, we are not able to understand the potential, the spiritual potency of Ganges water. Ganges water can take away all our sins. It can purify us. She has that potency. But if we think, oh, it's the same thing, taking a dip in the Ganges is same as taking a dip in another filthy drain, then we are being mistaken. We are bringing down the value of the Ganges water. So similarly, how can we understand about God? Only when we hear about him. He is speaking to us in Bhagavad Gita. It's Krishna's words himself. So we simply have to hear. And by hearing about him, we will be able to understand him. That is the point. Shruti. Shruti. Only God can tell us about himself, right? Because we are in the material world. We cannot understand. If we rely on our minds, we will just end up making mistake. We will end up making mistake. So we need to hear about the absolute truth from the absolute truth. Krishna is the absolute truth. He's speaking the Bhagavad Gita. So we hear the Bhagavad Gita. In this verse, it is clearly said that those who are averse to the Supreme Personality of Godhead speculate with their imperfect senses about the nature of the absolute truth. The formless Brahman conception, however, can be received only by oral reception and not by personal experience. So we have to understand the reason that we are here in the material world. Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 that we are here because of our dvesh, our envy, and our desire to be Krishna, our envy of Krishna and our desire to be Krishna. That our desire to be God and our envy that why is Krishna God. Now, till the time we don't correct these two things, we will continue our material life. We'll continue in the material world. So if we think that, okay, right now I'm not God, but I will become God after I get liberation, we are still continuing with this basic fault that we have gotten. We are not correcting it. We are not cleaning it out. So even if we reach up to the Brahman, we will come back because we are not, because this is the foundation of our material life, our desire to be God and our envy of God. So knowledge is therefore acquired by oral reception. It is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra, Shastra Yoni 1. One has to acquire pure knowledge from the authorized scriptures. This is the way to receive knowledge. That hearing, Shruti, from the authorized scriptures, not from any, any mundane book. No, from the revealed scriptures. So-called speculative arguments about the absolute truth are therefore useless. Just by mixing some words, speaking some flowing sweet language, we cannot change the absolute truth. The absolute truth is the truth. It can't be changed based on our words, based on our belief system, based on our faith. No, the truth is the truth. That the absolute truth is a person. So the actual identity of the living entity is his consciousness, which is always present while the living entity is awake, dreaming, or in deep sleep. Even in deep sleep, he can perceive by consciousness whether he's happy or distressed. Thus, when consciousness is displayed through the medium of the subtle and gross material bodies, it is covered. But when the consciousness is purified in Krishna consciousness, one becomes free from the entanglement of repeated birth and death. We, the soul, we are conscious. It's not that the body is conscious. No, the body is dead. It's just made up of dead material elements. If we analyze what the body is made up of, it's just made of earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. These are dead elements. But we are not dead. Who is not dead? That's the soul. The consciousness is with the soul, not with the body. And this consciousness is eternal. We are eternal. It's not that when we go to the spiritual world, we don't exist anymore. No, we continue to exist. That is the meaning of spiritual. Real life begins from the point of liberation. Right now, we, the soul, we are covered by this material body. The gross body that we can see, with this eyes, ears, nose, like this, the gross body we can see, and the subtle body, which we cannot see. The subtle body is mind, intelligence, and false ego. So the soul is covered by these two things. So what is liberation? Liberation means we have to give up both the gross body and the subtle body. We also have to get rid of the subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence, and false ego. And then that's the pure soul. And so how can we get that? Easily by Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness, purified Krishna consciousness. And at that point, we do not need to take birth again in the material world. We do not need to take another material body. We go home, back to Godhead. So when uncontaminated pure knowledge is uncovered from the modes of material nature, the actual identity of the living entity is discovered. He's eternally a servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we create these fantastic ideas about ourselves. I'm this, I'm that. But all that is based on the body. We are thinking we are the body. But the more we hear, the more we realize the knowledge to understand who we truly are, the spirit soul. So what is the position of the spirit soul? The position of the spirit soul is the spirit soul is an eternal servitor of God. Eternally a loving servant of God. This is the eternal relationship between the soul and God. And how can we be situated in that? When we get pure knowledge. Right now, our knowledge is covered. Right now, we are in ignorance. We are thinking we are the body. We are thinking we have nothing to do with Krishna. We are thinking we are independent. But true knowledge, pure knowledge, is understanding I am an eternal loving servant of God. Let me engage in that relationship. So engaging in that relationship, that is bhakti, devotional service. The process of uncovering is like this. The rays of sunshine are luminous, and the sun itself is also luminous. In the presence of the sun, the rays illuminate just like the sun. But when the sunshine is covered by the spell of a cloud or by Maya, in darkness, the imperfection of perception begins. Therefore, to get out of the entanglement of the spell of nations, one has to awaken his spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness in terms of the authorized scriptures. So right now we are in this ignorance. Our knowledge is covered, just like the sun, the cloud covers our vision of the sun. The cloud can never cover the sun, but the cloud covers our vision of the sun. Similarly, right now, this Maya, she has covered our pure knowledge. We are thinking we are the body, but our pure knowledge is that I'm eternal servant of Krishna. So how can we revive this pure knowledge? By hearing and chanting, by engaging in Krishna consciousness. We can be situated in our original position. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yatham Mahan Aham Rupa Stri Vrit Panchavida Swarat Ekadasha Vidastasya Vapur Andam Jagat Yataha. From the total energy, the Mahatattva, I have manifested the false ego, the three modes of material nature, the five material elements, the individual consciousness, the 11 senses, and the material body. Similarly, the entire universe has come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So where does this entire material manifestation comes from? Who is the creator of this material world? Krishna, God. We have been reading in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam how this entire material universes are created. So who's created the false ego? Krishna has created. Who has created the Rajogun, Tamogun, Sattvagun? Krishna. Who has created earth, water, air, fire, ether? Krishna. Who's created our senses? Eyes, ears, nose. You know, we say, oh yes, these things are there. But the question to ask is, who is the creator? That is Krishna. God is the creator. So the Supreme Lord is described as Mahatpada, which means that the total material energy known as the Mahatattva is lying at his lotus feet. The origin or the total energy of the cosmic manifestation is the Mahatattva. Sorry. So this Mahatattva is all the ingredients for the material energy, for the material creation are there in this Mahatattva. It's like a black cloud in the Brahman. This is the entire material energy, all the elements, the false ego, the senses, everything is included in this Mahatattva. It's like something like that all the ingredients, you're baking a cake, and so you mix up all the flour and the milk and the all the different, the butter, everything is mixed up. So this is what the Mahatattva is. Like everything is mixed up in there. So the origin or the total energy of the cosmic manifestation is the Mahatattva. From the Mahatattva, all the other 24 divisions have sprung up, namely the 11 senses, including the mind. So the Mahatattva is the first material thing that is created. From the Mahatattva, then the modes are agitated, and gradually, the false ego is created. First thing is false ego. Then from false ego in the mode of goodness, the mind is created. Then false ego in the mode of passion, intelligence, and the senses, and then the false ego in the mode of ignorance, the sense objects are created. So everything is coming from this Mahatattva. That's the basis, the foundation of this entire material world. All we see is included in this Mahatattva. The five material elements, and then consciousness, intelligence, and false ego. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of the Mahatattva, and therefore, in one sense, because everything is an emanation from the Supreme Lord, there is no difference between the Lord and the cosmic manifestation. But at the same time, the cosmic manifestation is different from the Lord. So this entire material world is coming from Krishna. It belongs to him. It's his energy. So in one sense, we say that there is no, as we say, there's no difference between the sunshine and the sun. We say, oh, the sun is in my room. It's not the sun, it's the sunshine which is in the room. So that's how we say, okay, the cosmic manifestation is God, but it's not that God does not exist anymore. The cosmic manifestation is an energy of God. The material world is Krishna's energy, and he is the energetic. He is the person who has the energy. The word Swarat is very significant here. Swarat means independent. The Supreme Lord is independent, and the individual soul is also independent. Although there's no comparison between the two qualities of independence, the living entity is minutely independent, and the Supreme Lord is fully independent. So we, the Jivatmas, we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is supremely independent. No one can tell Krishna what to do. No one. He doesn't have anything to do. He's just simply enjoying himself in Golok Vrindavan. There's nothing he needs to do. So similarly, because we are his parts and parcels, we are also independent. But he is supremely independent. We are minutely independent. That's our size. That's the point we have to understand. That we are not God, but we are part and parcel of God. As the individual soul has a material body made of 5 elements and the senses, the supreme independent law similarly has the gigantic body of the universe. Okay, so this material universe, many people are not able to understand that God can have a form. So for them, it's advised to think of the universal form of God, just to give a conception that yes, God can also have a form. Otherwise, we completely think that, oh, God means formless, some vapor, what do you say? Some vapor? Not vapor, some energy or some clouds or something. No, God has a form. Now, if we are not able to understand God's spiritual form, we are advised to understand God as this universal form. That, oh, the planets, the lower planets are his legs, then the middle planets are his waist, Then the higher upper planets are his head. The trees, the trees are the hair on his body. The ocean is his navel. The clouds are the hair on his head. We are advised to understand like this so that we can understand that God has a form. Of course, this universal form of the Lord, it's a material form because it's made up of this material planets, right? So as God has this material form, we are taking on this body. We are inside this body. We, the soul, we are taking on this material body made up of 5 elements. So the individual body is temporary. Similarly, the entire universe, which is considered to be the body of the Supreme Lord, is also temporary. And both the individual and universal bodies are products of the Mahat Tattva. This body that we have is a temporary body. When we leave the body, it's going to get mixed up with the other elements, earth, water, air, fire, ether. The universal form of the Lord is also a temporary form. It is not an eternal form. Why? Because it's made up of this material elements. Both of them are coming from the Mahatattva. Mahatattva. So one has to understand the differences with intelligence. Everyone knows that his material body has developed from a spiritual spark, and similarly, the universal body has developed from the supreme spark, super soul. So we have to understand that this material body is growing because the soul is inside. If the soul is not inside, the body is not going to grow. Similarly, the universal body of the Lord grows because the super soul is there. Matter is not the cause of life. Life is the cause of matter. That is the point we have to understand. Life comes from life. Because the Paramatma is there, the universal body of the Lord can develop. Because we, the Jivatma, are inside this body, this material body can develop. So just as the individual soul has consciousness, the Supreme Soul is also conscious. But although there is a similarity between the consciousness of the Supreme Soul and the consciousness of the individual soul, the individual soul's consciousness is limited, whereas the consciousness of the Supreme Soul is unlimited. We are conscious, but our consciousness is right now limited. Well, not only right now, it's always limited. We are not conscious of anything else other than us. I exist. That is my consciousness. Whereas God, He's supremely conscious of everything and everyone. He's the supreme conscious. He's unlimitedly conscious. We are just conscious of ourselves. That is the difference between God and us. That's the reason we are not God. We are part and parcel of God. God is supremely conscious. We are individually conscious. This is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, text 3, Kshetra Chapi Mam Vidhi. The super soul is present in every field of activity, just as the individual soul is present in the individual body. Both of them are conscious. The difference is that the individual soul is conscious of the individual body only, whereas the super soul is conscious of the total number of individual bodies. So right now we are inside our own body. We are conscious only of our body. But Paramatma, He's there in everyone. And so He's conscious of everyone. And that is the point we have to understand, that we are not the Paramatma. We are just simply the Jivatma. We are not supremely conscious. We are not conscious of anyone else. We are just conscious of our own self, our own existence. But Paramatma, He's supreme conscious. He's conscious of the total number of individual bodies. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, did you want to add anything? If no, then we'll stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening and joining in Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.